Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting their roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I so much appreciate you joining us. I absolutely love doing this show. I'm so pleased and proud to be the voice of Fate Magazine because I get a chance to talk to people like tonight's guest. And in all fairness, I've talked to him for years. He's been on Paranormal Experience with me. He is somebody I consider a friend, and I cherish that. That matters to me a whole lot. So before we do anything else, I'm going to bring him in so that y'all can meet him too. This is Steve Hudgeons. He is the Director of Investigations International. He is the Director of Support Services. He is on the STAR team. He has been, as he puts it when he asks me, a card-carrying member of MUFON since 1991. He has investigated a whole lot of different experiences that people had, including the Stevensville Lights. He is someone who has educated me on a great many things relevant to ufology and the field investigators and all of the things that are just fascinating. And it's kind of like, somebody has to be there to do the real work, right? MUFON is a volunteer organization, and it's a whole different world when you actually are having to work with volunteers as opposed to employees. It's just kind of a whole different way that you have to handle your employees. But he does it, and he does it well. And Steve Hudgeons, welcome to Fate Mag Radio.
Hello, Kat. I'm pleased for you to have me here. It's the things that you tell about me here are almost embarrassing to me.
Well, I call them as I see them. You know that. I'm not one to, blow smoke up your skirt, as it were. You do a good job.
Oh, well, I try to, and there's always other things to do out here. And
yes.
I'm just waiting to turn over the correct rock.
I got a feeling you'll do it. I think it's going to be soon. And I base that on different things that I've read, different lectures that I've heard, different people that I've interviewed. It just seems like there's a lot more openness, at least, about the discussion. People don't freak out and go, "Oh, you're one of those," anymore. It's just kind of more accepted.
It still takes place, believe me.
Well, I do know that. But I have a "I want to believe" sticker on my car, and somebody walked out of Walmart one day and was like, and it's pretty bad when somebody walking out of Walmart is slamming you. They're like, "Oh, you're one of those." I said, I do ghosts too.
I go to Walmart all the time, and I've never really run across something like that, but I don't wear any of my MUFON shirts in there either. I'm going to test that.
It's interesting because I really got the look, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. But you know what? Because they did that, it opened up a conversation.
Yes, that's what I run into also. There's a place over here in River Oaks that I get my oil changed all the time. I've been doing it for the last 30 years. Same place. And they have a little mechanic in there, and he's about my age, maybe a little younger. And I was wearing a MUFON shirt one day, and he says, "You part of MUFON?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know what that is?" He said, "Yeah, I read about it every once in a while." And, oh, we're good buddies now.
How cool. I mean, seriously, how cool.
It is. I never asked him if he's going to join or anything, because I'm afraid he'd ask me to make sure he gets in there for free. You know how it is.
Oh, I'll tell you what, and I know with MUFON, nobody gets in for free.
That's true.
So, well, I mean, it is a volunteer organization. The membership fees help pay for publications and trainings and discussions. The field manuals aren't free either. You have to learn how to be a field investigator, and that is so detailed.
Yes, it is. I just ordered 400 new field investigator manuals.
Well, when was the last time those were updated?
Just this just now. They were updated now, but there was some changes done, like they basically renamed the Director of Investigations for the United States, and they got rid of that, and it's now I'm having to get used to them. It's MCI. I can't say what them. I forget now what they called it, but it's redesignated now to MCI, and I'm not sure exactly what that stands for. It's a MUFON Chief Investigator. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
They got rid of the DOI, and it's MCI now, which is MUFON Chief Investigator. And they left mine the same way it is because I don't know why they did. They just left it.
Well, probably because you're dealing with the international community, and you don't want to change things up too much when English is the primary language of MUFON.
That's very true. When I first took over the international over here, I jumped in there doing my regular thing like I always do, and talk about upset the apple cart. Oh, no. Well, no, we're not going to have this. So I had to really back off a lot and basically say, okay. It's like they felt like I was coming here to take over their job, that kind of a thing. And that wasn't it exactly at all. So,
well, technically, you're coordinating with all of the investigators internationally, are you not?
Yes, supposedly.
So that's a pretty heavy. That should be a pretty heavy load.
This is not as heavy as you might think. It's you have to. I have to work with it every day, though.
Right.
And there was other names and categories that we had to change, and basically took the DOI designation completely out of the field investigator's manual. And it was quite a few pages, but it wasn't that hard to do.
Well, I tell you what, I am so fortunate because whenever I go to a convention relevant to ufology, any nature of it, I run into some of the neatest people representing MUFON.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went last year to the International UFO Congress. It was my first time at that event. I've
never been to that.
It was interesting. I would go back to that. I would do that one again. I was there as media. I had an opportunity to do some interviews, on the floor, as it were. I met all kinds of interesting, new to me authors and different people from the Phoenix MUFON who I enjoyed a lot. I thought that was a good group of people, and they were so excited that I was there. They were handing out Fate magazines along with me, and because I always, if I'm at a convention, I try to have the latest and greatest. We have the new Fate about to come out. It's brilliant. I'm so excited about it. But, excuse me, I'm really always amazed by how fascinated people are by your work, by your organization's work, because for the longest time, you're the only game in town.
Well, that's very true. We're the only ones that have field investigators. Nobody else does. No one does.
You also take care of experiencers.
Yes, that's true.
And
yes,
no one else does.
No. The experiencer side, this group doesn't really trust everybody, and I can understand that. They have a little bit of trauma going on, and above all, they don't want to be taken like they're crazy or something of that nature. So being anonymous is a big deal. So they just don't want to talk to just anyone. And I totally understand that.
Well, it's so sensitive because you're dealing with things that make people look at you like you're crazy, for one thing.
Right.
You're also dealing with personal violation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a sensitive subject, no matter what the scenario is. And I also find it really astounding that for the majority of these people, the repression of memory is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably, and to me personally, I think that's probably the scariest part.
Yes, the mind control. What did happen, what didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing that happened to me, did it really happen, or is it a figment of my imagination, or is it a dream? What I'm amazed with is after 50 years of all of this, we haven't really gained any knowledge on it. We really don't know exactly what's going on yet.
Well, exactly. And if I were an experiencer who was looking for answers as opposed to trying to repress and run from it, I think that I would be getting frustrated because there's no way to solidly prove that this really happened. So I would feel like people were looking askance at me the whole, through anyone that I shared that with. So I would be very reticent about it myself.
That gives rise to exactly the total number that have actually had experiences. There's so many that are going to just stay home and deal with it and not talk about it. So we don't know exactly how many are really out there.
Well, something that I found fascinating is that, and this is new to me because I just found out about your experiencer program. When I went to Contact in the Desert a couple of years ago, they had experiencers having conversations all over the place And I did not know that that was even a thing. So, that was kind of interesting for me. And I was really moved. I didn't understand entirely what was going on at first. And then when I realized who those people were and what they were doing, it was just a whole brand new mindset for me. Because I could hear in their voices how serious this was. And I think that if I were actually in your shoes out there doing the serious work, that would be a very strong motivator for me. Not only wanting my curiosity satisfied, but also trying to get answers for all these people who are wandering around damaged.
Yes, that's true. Before the experiencer program really got started, I forget the dates, it was like in the 80s. I went on a couple of these so-called abduction cases here in Texas. And I'll tell you about this one first. But first I want to tell you about this other one. There was 3 different cases that popped up over in North Dallas. And I live in Fort Worth, so it wasn't that far away. And they didn't have them all at once. They were just 3 different occasions, and it was kind of strange because each case, when I went over and talked with them, I wasn't able to talk with the woman. She didn't want to come out. She stayed in the other room. Her husband is the one who was telling me about everything that happened. So about another week went by, and I got another case. About another week went by, I got another case, and it was the same thing. The witness that actually was abducted wouldn't come out, and the husband told me all this stuff, and I said, okay, I've taken all this stuff down, and I started comparing all these notes, and I started looking at their addresses, and in each case, the female said that she was abducted and taken to a wooded area, and I didn't pay much attention to that because it's over an apartment complex in North Dallas. There's no parks anywhere around there. And so I got the map out and I started looking, and it was really odd because there's 3 different apartment complexes that these people came from, and in the middle of it was a wooded area.
Oh my!
And I got to looking at that, and I started getting cold chills. I said, I need to call these people and talk to them again. And I wanted to go at that wooded area. I tried to contact all 3 of them, and within a month, they all moved.
Maybe they knew too.
I don't know, but they moved. Wasn't able to contact them after that.
Well, were they aware of each other, or
not that I'm aware of?
Well, that's interesting.
Some of the things I was going to ask them about it. You know them? Do you know these? You know this? But I never got that far. But there was this other time, this woman, she sent me an email or something. I forget how I got her contact with her, but she just wanted to know if there was an abduction experience group, a support group in a DFW area. And I said, no, nothing I'm aware of. And then she started talking to me, wanted to know who I was, all that kind of thing, exactly who I was. And she says, why don't you come over and I will talk to you. I said, okay, no problem. And she says, well, wait. She says, your car or your truck, whatever you're driving, does it have names like MUFON on the side of it? I said, no, it doesn't do that. I said, it's just a regular car. She says, okay, I just want to make sure you're not parked out in front of my house with a MUFON sign. I said, oh
my gosh, yeah, that's
no problem.
To think of.
Yeah, I immediately thought of Ghostbusters after that, but pulling up with a siren and stuff. But I pulled up to her house. Of course, I called her before I got there. I said, I'll be there in about 5 minutes. She said, okay. So.
Okay, wait a minute. Before we get into your actual interview with her, we are almost at our first break.
Okay,
I'm
let's
going to
go
ahead and take this because I do not want to interrupt once you start the interview process. So We'll be right back. Thank you so much for being here, and y'all come back too.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, The best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, and I am so sorry that I had to stop this. It wasn't really meant to be a cliffhanger, but Steve, you were talking about you were going in to interview someone who had contacted MUFON, who did not want a Ghostbusters entrance. I'm never going to get that out of my head now. I'm going to see you in a truck with flashing lights. But when you got there, how did that go?
Okay, I pulled up in front of the house. It was just a normal neighborhood. There was, I don't remember a lot of fancy brick houses all over the place, but just a normal neighborhood. And I pulled up outside, and I started walking up to the house. And, of course, I had called her previous, and she had walked out on the porch and basically met me there. And I got about halfway into the yard, and she held her hand out. Her arm, she extended her arm and held her hand out, in the stop motion.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, I stopped, and here she is. She's standing on a porch that's about 4 feet off the ground, and she looked to me like she was about 6'6". The woman was tall, and here I am looking up at her. I'm getting a sore neck trying to do it right now, but I'm sitting there talking to her, introduce myself and this kind of thing, and she says, okay, and she was asking me more questions. I'm thinking to myself, well, I guess the interview is going to be taking place here. So we're going, and she did that hand motion several more times, and she says, okay, come on inside. So I went in and we went in the living room and sat down. She says, here, you sit down there. I said, okay. I sat on the couch, and she sat in a chair across from me. It's just standard living room furniture. And she's sitting there talking and telling me about her experience, and she did that hand motion again. I was like, can I ask you what that is? What are you doing that for? That's inquisitive minds, you know what I mean?
I do.
And she says, I was feeling your vibration. That caused me to stop there for a minute because I don't really buy into all of that.
I know you don't.
So I'm going, okay. I said, what did you find out? And she says, I allowed you in my house because I feel a great vibration off of you. I said, okay, great. So we had a nice little conversation about her experience that she's had since she was 5. And it's just on and on and on and on and on. So, and then while she's talking to me, I'm taking notes, and I'm also kind of casually looking around the room. And what I'm looking for are UFO books, because I want to know how much she's read about UFOs and abduction experiences, because that has a lot to do with the interview. I mean, anybody can read a book on abductions and can turn around the next day and say they've been abducted. It's just that simple.
I've actually seen that happen.
Yes, it's that simple. And there is no evidence that's winnable in court to prove someone's been abducted. Even Travis Walton has no evidence other than his friends. And I've talked with Travis. I've met him. I've talked with Steve Pierce. I've met him, and I have no reason to say that they're not telling the truth, because their story never changes. And that's one thing about someone that's creating something. Their story changes.
They embellish.
Yes, they do. But not Travis and not Steve. Their story is the same. So that means a lot to me. But anyway, she goes, she got quiet for a minute, and she says, Steve, when were you abducted? Of course, that got my attention immediately. And I started getting cold chills. I jumped up off of that couch, and I said, why are you saying that? She said, because I know you've been abducted. I said, how do you know? She says, I can tell. I said, well, as far as I know, I have not been abducted. She says, that's the part, as far as you know. And I'm sitting there going, she can just make this up as she goes. I said, well, look, I said, let's wrap this interview up. And I said, I'm going to go. And I left. And I tried to call her back, and she moved. What is it with these people moving around so much? Anyway.
Maybe it's something to do with you. I don't know.
I hope not.
I'm teasing. It could not possibly
be.
But
it may be. I don't know.
Well, it may be sharing. They feel vulnerable after they've shared something like that, experiencing it and then sharing it.
Well, the three women. It is the 3 women did not even. I didn't even see them. Didn't meet them or anything. I met their husbands.
Right.
So I don't know. But anyway. Yes, I think I've been abducted. I didn't tell her that, but no. I didn't want to go there. That's people are always asking me, you ever had paranormal experiences? Yeah, I've had a bunch of them. Well, why don't you study ghosts? And I said, because I don't want to. I want to do the UFO thing.
It's fascinating.
Yes.
It really is. And I didn't anticipate the pull that ufology has.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. I have been a spiritual paranormal investigator for over a decade.
Okay, what is that? Describe that to me.
Ghosts. And entities.
Well, I got a question for you since you're into ghost.
Ask.
I started doing this on my radio show when I had it. Anytime I'd have somebody come on, I'd ask them. I said, give me the association or the comparison or the juncture of paranormal to UFOs. And oh man, you should hear all the things that people say. But what it boils down to is, okay, ghosts disappear, UFOs disappear, right? And ghosts go through walls, so do ETs. So there's the comparison. The majority of those comparison that they do that. They said it's based. I said, so okay, what you're telling me is a ghost has the same technology as ET. Because they can go through material objects. And that made them scratch their heads on that one. But I always ask them a follow-up question. I said, what is a ghost to you? So I'm going to ask you that. What is a ghost to you? What does it mean?
A ghost to me would be, I feel like they're humans who, for whatever reason, are here. I have no doubt that they exist. I've experienced them often. I don't know why they're here. And that drives me crazy because I don't think it's unfinished business. I don't think they're here to, just hang out. But I think that if there was an option once you die and you're still cognizant in some nature, form, or fashion, then if that were me, I would not be in a junky, old, nasty building. I would be in the Taj Mahal. I would be in Tibet. I would be exploring. So I don't know why. I think that you get a lot of freedom once you pass. I don't think I know this is not the end. I know that there are different things. One thing that I could possibly relate to between ghosts and ETs is I believe that things are interdimensional. I don't believe that this one spot is it. I don't necessarily have any proof to back that up other than that's just something that I have found based on my research. I think that things come and go. And I actually do think that with cryptids as well. I don't think it's just ghosts and ETs. But I don't understand the compulsion ETs have to, for lack of a better word, monitor humans. I don't know why the abduction experiences are always so very intensely personal as far as they are almost, in some instances, sexually abusive. Definitely physically abusive. And some are not. Some are lights and flowers and whatever. But I don't know anyone who, when they first started being abducted, were happy about it. I have spoken with several women, and none of them knew the other. But I've spoken with different women who have had the missing fetus experience. More than one of those women, because it's a question I always ask at the end of discussion, except with one person that is too traumatized to answer this question. But I've asked the women I've talked to relevant to that, have you ever had an opportunity to meet your child? And 3 of them have.
Okay.
Here on Earth. And so to me, that kind of gave me a little twitch for a while as I tried to figure that out. But I do think that there's not such a vast difference between this world and whatever other worlds are out there. I think that you can transcend dimensions and experience things too. That was a lot of words to answer your question. Did it make sense?
Yes, it did. It's very logical. Now, let me continue with this. The biggest answer, the most answers I got was, it's the energy of a dead person has passed away. This is the answer they gave me.
It's
and
not
I said,
just that.
Well, I said, okay. I said, if this is a dead energy of a person that's passed away, why are they wearing clothes? Because I have never seen any of my socks and T-shirts flying around in the room in here that I've thrown in the trash.
We just had that conversation. Another friend of mine and I had that conversation. Why are they always in white dresses? Is there nothing else in the linen closet that you can, or
well,
in the
I
closet
have
that
something.
you can put on?
I have an idea for you. Okay, and this will give you something to think about, and everybody's listening. Okay, here we have ghosts, fairies, wolfman, dogman, whatever you want to call him, Bigfoot. You have all of these things running around the neighborhood, running around in the forest for years and years and years and years, and nobody can grab one by the neck and say, hey, look here, I've got one. Right?
Right.
You with me on there? Okay, ghosts are included.
Right.
And ET is included too. I mean, these guys are all over the place. Everybody sees them, but nobody can grab one. here's my idea on all of that. The first key to the whole thing is when someone's abducted, they are mind controlled. You kind of agree with that?
I do.
Okay. So imagine a little kid, and abduction started about 5 years old. Here's the little kid in bed, sleep, and something wakes the little kid up. The little kid gets up and looks, and they see dead grandma at the end of the bed. Okay?
Yes.
Oh, well, there's dead grandma. She gets up out of the bed and wakes up her mama. Mama, I see grandma in the bedroom in here. Well, it's just a dream. Here, get in the bed. Get in the bed with us. No big deal. Here's some hunters out in the forest. They come across a Bigfoot. Of course, Bigfoot takes off. They take off in the other direction. Nobody's ever gotten one. Same thing with anything else anybody sees. I think it's all mind control. I believe E.T. is flying around anytime they get ready to, doing what they want to do, and then make you see what you are looking at. That's why nobody ever has one. That's just my thoughts.
You mean why they don't catch them?
Yes, they don't catch them because they're not really there. It's a mind control.
Well, do you think that the ETs are creating the visuals of the cryptids and other things of that nature? Why would they do that?
Because cryptids are known. We know what they are. And when we see Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot, take off, But if they see
we
ET,
don't have one.
That's true. We don't have one.
Okay, I'm there.
But if they see ET, that lets everyone know, hey, there's an extraterrestrial. Spacemen, space guys are real. Right now, they're just a figment of everybody's imagination, supposedly. You follow me?
I do.
Okay, same thing with a ghost. They're in there snooping around your house. You wake up and see dead granny. You don't see a reptilian. I would imagine
choose not to see a reptilian. I would take the dead granny. I agree.
Well,
with
there
that.
you go. See, you don't want to die of a heart attack, and that's maybe against their code, damaging humans. I don't know. That's just
I don't think that's against a code. I don't think that's one of their concerns. I will agree that they don't want to be. I will agree that they will alter the reality so that they're not what you're seeing. I get that.
Yes.
But I don't think, particularly that species, cares one whit about whether we're damaged.
Probably not.
But
they could care less.
Yeah, I mean, because we're almost like a science experiment. That's how I perceive their perception of us.
Exactly. We have what they want. That's why they're here.
What do you think it is that they want?
Well, I've read all this stuff. One of their a longer time ago, when this first thing people started first talking about this, the Greys are. See, there's an evolutionary curve. It goes up like a horseshoe and back down. And us in our race, we're on the upward side of the horseshoe. The Greys are on the downward side of their horseshoe, and they're about to become extinct. And they need some DNA to revitalize their genome, or whatever you want to call it. And they're here using us for that, because we are, I don't know, genetically sound or genetically compatible or whatever. But that's what they're here for. They're rebuilding their race. And I'm sure they have an agreement with the government of the world, and not just the United States. They're all involved with it. That's why we haven't had any nuclear wars.
Do you believe that there really is a contract that was entered into?
Oh, yes.
Around the Second World War?
Yeah, I can prove it to you.
Can you?
You ready?
Do it.
Okay. Is your chat room running?
My chat room is running.
Okay, I want to ask
everybody moved to Spreaker, so they're over in Spreaker, but yes, chats are going.
Okay, I want to ask everybody, how long was man in a chariot or an animal-drawn vehicle? How many years?
Oh, that would be forever. Until, what, the 30s?
Well, it's about 2,500 years.
Yes.
Man was in an animal-drawn vehicle. Now, from the time that they stepped off this animal-drawn vehicle and stepped onto the moon, how many years is that?
That would be like 40.
It's more like about 50, 56.
Okay.
So you take that in mind. Why is it after 100 years, over 100 years, we're still getting 21 miles to the gallon in these cars?
I don't know. It seems
And
like that would
neither does
continue
anybody
to progress.
else. We should be in flying automobiles by now.
I know. I watched the Jetsons. I'm ticked about that.
Well,
I grew
it's
up on the
because
Jetsons.
all the money's going to the secret space program. I thoroughly believe in a secret space program. It's been going on since, 50s.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
why
what do
we're
you think?
20-something trillion in debt.
Yes. Well, I mean, seriously, to quote Independence Day, you don't really think they spend $25,000 for a hammer, do you?
Yes.
Right? I mean,
Maybe not that much, but maybe 2,500.
Yeah. But, Vance said that he was going to say 4,000 years on the length of time.
Oh, it's not that long. It's not that long.
But
I Googled it. That's why I know it's about 2,500 years.
that's cheating. But I'm just curious, right? Because the part that you said about the Greys,
mm-hmm.
I've listened to and spoke with Dr. Mike Masters, who has written in lectures about identified flying objects. He shares your idea that the Greys are going extinct, but his point of view is that these are us. These are our
from the future
progeny coming back from the future because our society
Why would they want to do that?
Because our society became so what's the right word? Because of the interbreeding and the everything, we became mutated to the point that there is no diverse DNA left, which obviously does not create a healthy
There's
species.
a lot of yes, that means a lot because in the Bible it tells you and you basically get married and have sex with that woman and that's it.
Because you're continuing the purity of a species. When it gets hodgepodged, then it weakens the...
Yes, it breaks the DNA
Thank
down.
you. No longer viable. Yes. Thank you, Tom. But, so it's them coming back to re-diversify their DNA by taking from us back before it got...
I can almost buy into that.
It's a compelling argument.
Yes, I can just almost buy into that.
His research is brilliant. The book is amazing. So, and it's identified flying objects for those interested in reading it. But, so I see where that would be, that they would be coming here, going extinct, needing to find some way to fix what got messed up in the process. Oh, we have to get a break. We will be right back. And you know what? I get so taken away when I'm getting to a topic, but we'll be right back. Thanks for being here. Come right back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. In publication since 1947, and fatemag.com is the website. If your subscription has run out, go get that sucker taken care of. We've got a new issue coming out, and it's going to rock your world. So I am speaking tonight with Steve Hudgeons, who is the Director of Investigations International for MUFON, as well as the Director of Support Services and the STAR team. Thank you for being here, and I got so enmeshed in our conversation, I almost missed our break. This was fascinating. Thank you.
I always love missing breaks. That's always good.
Well, that's all right. I can't fire myself, so it's all good. Or I could. I probably won't. But in all seriousness, we're discussing DNA issues and all this other stuff, and it's fascinating to me because I have been exposed to this idea. So the fact that you brought that up out of the blue when we hadn't even discussed that, I love synchronicity.
I'm a mind reader on the side.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I know you totally believe in that.
No, I don't.
So I know you don't.
It's kind of funny. I always run across all these people, and they're saying, oh, I can remote view and all this kind of thing. I said, really? I said, why don't you remote view me right now and tell me what I'm wearing? And I lose that friend for some reason. I have never figured that one out yet.
Well, I'll tell you that I know things sometimes that I shouldn't probably. Well, definitely. And I recognize people I've never met, but I cannot tell you which socks you're wearing today. So I've never tried to do that.
I said, what if I was barefooted?
Well, so see, I would have definitely flunked the test already.
Okay. Well, I'm wearing white socks.
There you go. And I'm okay with flunking the test. I don't sweat the small stuff. We do have questions now in chat, if you don't mind. Do you feel like
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sherry would like to know, there's two questions. How many people come to you claiming to have had an encounter or seen a UFO? And how do you go about figuring out which stories are bogus?
That is a good question.
She comes up with some doozies.
I don't get as many people as I used to, but I'm on Facebook, and people are always sending me things. Say, Steve, what do you think about this? Hey, Steve, what do you think about that? And I can guarantee you, I have seen so many photographs that I can identify what it is right off the bat, because the majority of them are lens flares, reflections, dust, bugs, and my favorite is the security lights on the outside of your house that have little white lights and things flying around in front of them. That's always bugs and spider webs, simply because there's an infrared light that does the views at night, and it attracts bugs. They love that light. And spider webs, I just saw one today. It was spider webs on it. And the reason I know that is because I have 6 of these security cameras around my house, and I'm always having to get a broom up there and sweep off the spider webs, because I know what they are. I know what they look like. And I see a lot of things that are CGI. That's computer-generated graphics. And the dead giveaway on a CGI is the camera movement. because they put camera movement in there, so they're trying to demonstrate that someone actually took this by hand, that kind of thing. But it's always a gradual left to right, slowly, left to right. People don't do that. People jerk.
I've never taken a video like that, even when I tried to.
Yes, people jerk around. They jerk. The cameras aren't smooth. And another deal is birds. Birds are notorious for being, because basically they're in an elliptical shape. Mm-hmm. And when you think of a bird, you think of a bird with the wings stretched out and all this kind of thing. A lot of times the birds they're diving down. They don't have the wings out. They're diving on food. So their wings are inside, and so they're elliptical. And another dead giveaway is if I'm taking here I am. I'm outside. I see a UFO. I have my cell phone like everybody else does. I pull the thing out and I start taking pictures. Why do they only have one photo?
Yes.
The reason is because they're taking a video or a photo of the night sky or the sunset or something. They take a picture, and then when they look at it later, they see this bird in there, and they think it's a UFO. Well, the UFO has to be the center of attention in your photograph, or it's something you saw later, regardless of what you said. And then you better show me more than one photo. I mean, if I'm looking at a UFO, I can push that button down. It takes 6,000 photos really quick.
Yep.
So don't come at me with one photo. That's a dead giveaway. But that's what I look for. And if you take a photo through a piece of glass, you might as well just forget about it, because your glass is reflecting everything in your car or everything in your house, and you won't know it until after you look at it and you say, "What's that? That must be some kind of weird thing." I said, "No, it's a reflection from something inside your house." So don't take something through the glass or through the car windshield, that kind of thing. But that's what I look for in a video and a photo.
Well,
and yes, I see them all the time. Yes,
I'm sure you do. Do you ever get the ones that make you go, "Well, I'm going to have to talk to these people further"?
Yes, I did that once in a while, and then when I find out exactly what it is, like the only actual photo I've ever seen, and I hate to bring it up because I can't pronounce the city, but it's I believe it's Wisconsin or whatever, but it was a perfect, beautiful flying saucer, and it had triangle-shaped lights underneath, formation with it was three, and then one red one, and there were two photographs, one here and then one as it moved past the trees, and I was told it was fake too by our photo analysis guy. So as a rule, or as far as history goes, I've never seen one that was actually real.
Well, I know your photo analyst guy, and
yes.
he will break your heart about pictures.
Mm-hmm. It will.
So I shared one from a place here in Alabama that is a notoriously haunted place, and it's like a face in a window. It's an old courthouse.
There you go. See, reflection. It's in a piece of glass. It's a reflection.
Yes. And, well, it's something got etched on it, I think, is what he said. But, or that's why.
Well, that's very good, because I worked in the glass business forever. And wind and dust will etch glass over time. It will do that.
Well, he still broke my heart. Yeah. Good thing he's such a nice person.
Yeah, he is. He's cool.
Yeah, and smart.
Very smart, yes.
One of the smartest people I've ever known. But I am just interested because how many reports do you get on average a year?
Oh, let's see. In the United States, I forget the last number. I would say close to about 700. Maybe a little more than that.
That's significant. What are you finding in your international community?
Not that many, but it's probably half that. And that's separated in about, six countries, basically.
What are your primary countries with experiences?
It's a good thing you brought that up, because here lately, a lot of abduction experiences are going on in UK and Canada. More what I call more than usual. Yeah.
In UK and Canada?
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Well, I wouldn't go there if I were an alien. It's cold.
Well, there you go. Maybe
I can understand the South American ones. Right?
Yeah, that's where the reptilians go.
Well, that's where I would go.
I'm just kidding.
Is there really footage of, have you ever seen footage of an actual alien encounter?
No. I always ask people, I've had alien abduction since I was a kid. I said, okay, how many cameras do you have? What? How many cameras do you have in your house since it happens on a regular basis? Oh, well, I never thought about that. I'm amazed.
That is amazing. I can't believe they wouldn't.
I've had noises in this house I've been living in. I've been living here for about 40 years. And first thing I did was put a camera in my attic because I wanted to catch what's walking around up there in that attic.
Did you?
And never did see anything.
No raccoon, no squirrel.
Nope, nothing.
Wow.
And I didn't hear anything either.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I know. I hate it.
Well, what state, Sherry says, do you receive the most claims from?
Oh, let's see. There's, before I answer that, there's two kind of people that have UFO experiences. That's people that smoke and people that walk their dog. And the reason is
or lay in a hammock.
Well, I've never had an experience like that. I just woke up and lived in my hammock. I never had one of those. But
well, the times that I have messaged you and said you're not going to believe this is in this constellation, and then there's one right there when we had that conversation, was when I was laying in my hammock watching for a meteor shower.
Okay, I can see that, but never. You're the only ones ever said that. But we get a lot of cases in California, a lot of cases in Texas, a lot of cases in Pennsylvania, Florida, and let's see. Couple others spotted around Arizona, and a lot of cases in Canada, United Kingdom. Let's see, who else would I add to that? There's kind of scattered. The rest of them are just kind of scattered. Of course, there's some in France, not a lot. So not a lot in Germany, not a lot in Australia, but those are the main ones.
I would think that there would be a lot in Australia.
They have their share, but nothing that's like Canada or United Kingdom, which kind of brings you up to speed on, well, why would they be mostly in the United States and mostly in Canada and mostly in the United Kingdom? Why is that?
I got nothing. Because they're part of the agreement?
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking that that's the place that has all of the good stuff. In other words, our own equipment, because I believe that any intelligence a million years ahead of us, if they fly into our atmosphere, they're going to be invisible because they don't want the Planet of the Apes to damage their vehicle so they can't get back home. I fully understand that belief. So anything we see is going to be our own equipment for the most part.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not saying
I hadn't considered.
I'm not saying there's no ETs because I believe there are.
But they're cloaked?
Yes, they'd be cloaked. Wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. It'd be like parking a Mercedes down in the downtown parking deck.
Yeah. I've had people come up to me, Steve, how come the aliens don't come down here and help us? I said, I would say, when's the last time you went to the zoo? What? When's the last time you went to the zoo? Well, I went over there, so-and-so, so-and-so. I said, did you take your keys and throw them over into the monkey cage so you could help them? Keys to your car. Well, no. I said, okay, then why do you want the aliens to help us? Because we're apes to them. And they get mad.
Well, and then they go away. Mad.
Yes, they do.
Well, we are coming up on our top of the hour break, and I am enjoying this conversation so much. We've got some great questions coming up after the break. I'm telling you, I should have Sherry write my questions. She does such a great job. I have a list, and then she is just boom, boom, boom. She does such great work. But this is going to be great. This is a news break. Hopefully, you know what? Maybe we'll find a little good news. I don't know. You know, it's so sketchy right now. But we can always hope. Always hope. We'll be back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And we will see you shortly. Here at WBHM-DB, we appreciate every one of you.
Support for NPR programming comes from the NPR Shop, a place loaded with gifts for the biggest Tiny Desk fans. Tiny Desk tees, Tiny Desk hoodies, and Tiny Desk mugs, all at a tiny price. Use Shop NPR 10 at shop.npr.org for 10% off your entire order.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg is flying back to his home state tonight, where campaign aides tell NPR he will suspend his presidential campaign. NPR's Asma Khalid has more.
The 38-year-old former mayor of South Bend was seen as this unflappable force on the debate stage, a smart and calm voice who offered generational change that was in contrast to a field of 70-year-olds. He had strong finishes in Iowa and New Hampshire, but he had struggled to pick up any delegates in the more diverse states of Nevada and South Carolina. Anecdotally, many voters who praised Buttigieg also liked aspects of Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Biden has momentum after his resounding victory in South Carolina over the weekend, so it'll be important to see which candidate benefits from Buttigieg dropping out ahead of Super Tuesday.
NPR's Asma Khalid, and Super Tuesday takes place this week. French health authorities say the country now has 130 people infected with the coronavirus, including 2 mayors. 9 people are in critical condition. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports the government has advised people to put off travel outside the EU.
Indoor gatherings of more than 5,000 people are now banned in France, and the Paris Half Marathon was canceled over the weekend. Even the Louvre Museum had to close Sunday after employees refused to work. A union representative said they feared being contaminated by the museum's flow of visitors from around the world. The Archbishop of Paris has also advised priests not to administer communion by placing the sacramental wafer in worshippers' mouths, and having previously recommended that people avoid shaking hands, the French health minister said people should also cut back on the customary cheek kiss greeting known as la bise. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani is rejecting a prisoner swap outlined in the peace deal signed between the U.S. and the Taliban this weekend. Ghani says he won't free thousands of Taliban prisoners ahead of power-sharing talks set for next week. The Taliban, meanwhile, is already speaking to international diplomats about future steps in the peace process. Jennifer Glass has more from Kabul.
The Taliban wasted no time trying to shore up their international credentials, with Mullah Baradar, the political leader in Doha, meeting with foreign ministers and diplomats after signing the agreement with the United States. In Kabul, President Ashraf Ghani says the team that will speak with the Taliban will represent the democratic Islamic values and the Constitution of Afghanistan. But already the two sides are at odds over a provision in the agreement that says the U.S. will help negotiate the release of up to 5,000 prisoners in Afghan jails and up to 1,000 Afghans in Taliban custody. The Taliban say 5,000 should be released before inter-Afghan talks will begin. Ghani says that's not been agreed, the first in what will likely be many hurdles on the road to reconciliation in Afghanistan. For NPR News, I'm Jennifer Glass in Kabul.
And you're listening to NPR News from Washington. Israel holds an unprecedented third election tomorrow after 2 inconclusive votes last year. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is campaigning hard to win another term, but as NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Jerusalem, polls are predicting another stalemate.
Netanyahu has served as prime minister for over a decade, but he faces corruption charges and failed to win enough support to form a new government last March. He orchestrated unprecedented repeat elections last September, but again couldn't win a majority, and neither could his centrist opponent Benny Gantz, a retired army general. The stalemate led to tomorrow's unprecedented third vote. Polls suggest there could be similar results, and candidates are already warning there could be fourth elections. Israel's elections commissioner is warning about the spread of fake news about coronavirus, which could suppress voter turnout. At least 7 Israelis have tested positive for the virus, and Israel is setting up separate polling stations for more than 1,000 Israelis who may have come in contact with the virus and are in home quarantine. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Jerusalem.
In Germany, the weather was too warm to make ice wine. The German Wine Institute says none of the country's 9 wine regions got the hard freeze grapes need to make the expensive and prized treat. Freezing the grapes before they are crushed concentrates the sugar, and it leads to an intensely sweet golden wine that's often served with dessert or as dessert. Actually, not much wine gets made in a good year, but this year there will be none. Asia markets are open and trading lower. The Asia Dow is down just over 0.5% at last check. I'm Janine Herbst, and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fate Mag Radio. We are so appreciative of you and the fact that you enjoy the show so much. I am so fortunate because I not only get to be the voice of Fate Magazine, I also get to meet people. It's really funny. So many of our guests have actually been featured authors at different times in Fate. It's funny how these things come together, right? I love it. And I will tell you that I know that tonight's guests, like so many of y'all, have their own collection of Fate mags. I mean, we are talking serious collection. Steve Hudgeons, thank you for being here. Mm-hmm. And I've enjoyed our first hour. I can't believe an hour is already gone. So I was impressed when I saw the photograph of your collection of Fates.
You want to hear where I acquired it?
I do.
Here I was, minding my own business, and I got a phone call. And it was a man who lives in Corpus Christi. And I don't remember how many years ago it was, but he says his wife was in MUFON, and she was a big investigator, and she was a section director down in Corpus. But anyway, she passed away. And he says, I have this, what do you call those, little areas where you take your furniture and you put them in there and rent these little cubicles or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I forget what you call them.
Storage.
Yeah, a storage facility, yes. He says, I have a storage facility here. It has all of the books and things that she has acquired through her MUFON history. And he says, I was state director of Texas then. He says, if you want them, they're yours. Come and get them. So I did. I went down there and got them. And that Fate magazine collection was part of that, as well as some early editions of the MUFON manual and they were yellow then. I didn't know that. And I had so many books, and they almost blew the tires off of my SUV. And serious. I mean, I still have a lot of those books. I've been giving a lot of them away. But those magazines, oh no, they're staying right here with me.
Well, that's one of my favorite things about Fate is that the people that I run into are massive collectors. I had a guest on with me, Cheryl Costa, who had written an article for Fate, and actually it was a fiction piece, and she had submitted it, and she was telling me about it, and she said, and they never ran it. And it was a fascinating piece. She described it somewhat to me. So after the show, I contacted Phyllis, our editor and owner, and I said, Phyllis, Cheryl Costa wrote this piece. It was on Johnny Appleseed going out and, I think he was an alien. I can't remember the whole thing. And Phyllis said, well, I did print that. Oh. I have that. And so I got Cheryl's snail mail, and Phyllis knew the edition, had some of them, in her archives, and sent 2 copies to Cheryl. Mm-hmm. And that was one happy person.
I guess so, yeah.
Because she was actually published in Fate, and that was a huge deal for her. And she told everybody about that. It was really, really fun to see the joy that brought her. So
I'm glad to hear that, yeah. I would write articles, but I have trouble writing my own name.
as if. You do technical things. Everybody has their color Kool-Aid. But, and, you know, that's another thing. You are a technical person. We were talking about...
No, not me. No, not me, no.
Whatever. But you do a really good job of interacting with your volunteers and keeping things grooving and moving, and I appreciate that because I've talked to so many of your field investigators and they love what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just really kind of a big fan of that. When we were talking about the different places in the U.S. where there are so many experiences or people reporting sightings and that kind of thing, one of the places, when you mentioned California, I can understand because San Diego's right there. You have, there's so many bases through California. And you have, I'm sure, craft that are not normally seen, and as well as nosiness from ETs. But Arizona, when I was in Phoenix, we had a gentleman come up who had a recording on his phone, and your analyst actually said those are satellites. You can see them in tandem, and they run in tandem through there, you know, so often here or there, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the MUFON photo analyst guy telling this guy, I do know what that is. It does look incredible, but I'm telling you what this is. And the guy was just kind of like, And we overheard him like 10 minutes later showing it to somebody else and telling them that it was UFOs. So it's just weird. People do not want to doubt. They do not want to have their things disproven. And I know that you burst a lot of bubbles. So, I mean,
yes, I burst a lot of bubbles. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you why
it's a good thing.
Excited. Well, when we did the Stephenville thing back in 2008, we really caused an uproar, seriously. And people were coming up with videos and photos and things of that nature. And there was a group or an individual from Japan that contacted the state director and said they would give thousands of dollars per second for any film that we deemed authentic. So there's where it comes from. People have a video, they think it's God's gift to nature, and it doesn't make any difference what you say. Their mind is set. And here's the part people don't really understand, and I try to tell people that. I said, look, it doesn't make any difference. Your evidence, it doesn't have to make me believe it. I said, what you have to do is make a jury of 12 people believe it in court, because you're going to have to go to court with your evidence to prove it true. That's the final line.
Yep.
So your evidence, somebody is going to look at that evidence, and they're going to say 2 or 3 of them in there, oh, that's satellites, or that's stars, or that's drones. You're not going to convince a bunch of them because the evidence is not that good. And that's just
right.
That's the bottom line. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, it's like I walked out of a facility in Tennessee last night. It was a fairly rural area, so dark skies. I happen to love Orion because I can always find it. And
yes,
I looked at it.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I love it. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and as I'm walking out to the car, and I see 2 things, you know, going by Orion's belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of did that, you know, Labrador head tilt. You know,
right.
I was like, what in the world am I looking at? So I messaged a guy I know with a telescope, and I said, if you've got your telescope up and running about 10 minutes ago till now, I saw something at Orion's Belt, and I want to know if there are satellites there. I can't pull my app up because I had no service in that area.
Uh-huh.
And a few minutes later, I got a message that said, yes, there are satellites coming through there right now. That's the celestial equator, and that's used a lot because yada, yada. And I was like, I'd never heard of a celestial equator. That's pretty cool. Thank you for educating me, and I appreciate the info. So, if you have a way to find out, like if I had been able to get my satellite app up, it would have shown me that there were satellites there. There are tools like that available.
Yes.
Because I am a sky watcher, and I enjoy watching the stars blow around. I love being in my hammock. The only time right now I can be in it is at night. So, that's how I saw those that night, watching for meteor showers. And
those are always nice.
Yeah. But it looked like two things. One came over the mountain from one side and one came from the other. They settled into a constellation. They just stayed there. And I'm filling out my MUFON report, right? And it won't accept it. After all that work I went into putting it in there, when I went to post it, it wouldn't accept it.
I wonder why.
I don't know. It just had to have a glitch.
Did you have email on it or anything like that?
I had because you told me where to find it. So I pulled it up and I filled it out in its entirety. And when I went to hit send or submit, it wouldn't accept it.
What did it tell you?
It just said, can't accept this.
That's the first I've heard that.
It was the first time I'd ever filed one. And I was so disappointed. I was excited, because I know you could tell I was excited. I'm sitting there with my thumbs going 200 miles an hour. And because it blew me away, I figured they were there to watch the meteor shower too. So it was interesting. But that was the first time that I had ever tried to report one.
I don't know what to say. I've never heard that. Maybe the computer was down. There's been some times when the computer is down where they're redoing some things on the system.
Well, it could have been that they were getting so many reports at that time because it was pretty obvious that maybe it was just overloading.
That's possible. I've never heard that before, though, but that's possible.
Well, but it was cool. I thought that was one of the coolest experiences ever. And, I'm talking, you're the guest.
Well, that's okay.
But that's just an instance where, I had access to a MUFON person. I had seen what I thought was activity above me and reached out and got instruction on what to do. The fact that it didn't load that time was, neither here nor there. That's just the way that went that night. But for whatever reason. But your reporting system is really amazing.
It's an old system too.
How old is it?
Oh, I don't even know. It's just not hardly anybody knows how to program the thing. I forget now what they call it. And I wouldn't even attempt to go in there and try to do it, but only a few people know how to do it. And the ones that knew how, he dropped out and retired because he's taking care of his mother now. And the other one died.
Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah, that's what we thought, too. He was pretty young, field investigator, and he was a state director, too. But anyway, it happens.
Well, I'm sorry, because I know that had to be a friend of yours, too.
Well, I knew him, yeah.
So, we are, believe it or not, we're fixing to get a break. Talk
Excellent.
So much. And we'll be right back because Sherry has questions for you. And they're going to be good, too.
Good.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour. Welcome back. You are listening to Fate Magazine here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, and we're so glad you are. We have got the best guest tonight. Steve Hudgeons is the Director of Investigations International for MUFON. He is also the Director of Support Services. He also is over STAR Team, and that is a rapid response unit that is pretty amazing. Everything with MUFON, as far as the research capabilities and abilities, are just off the chain. They do everything. They do field investigations, they do documentation of experiences, they have an experiencer / abductee support group. If you have had an experience, you can go to MUFON.com and you'll find where to fill out a questionnaire. It's really pretty interesting. They have people trained to work with experiencers, as well as people like Steve that handle all of the technical stuff and get the information gathered so that your information is put into the best format to be researched. Steve, thank you for being here.
Anytime. We'll do this again tomorrow if you wish.
I'm down with that. You know me, I could talk with you for days. But, I want to get to these questions because it's interesting.
Okay.
The first one is, how many UFOs have you seen yourself?
Me?
You.
Let's see. What I would consider to be a UFO. That's the question?
Yes.
I have never seen anything that I could not that I could not explain.
That you could not explain without effort? Or were you having to stretch to reach your conclusion?
Well, the things that I saw, well, I take that back. There was one incident when I was in the Navy that we just couldn't understand what it was, period.
Were you at sea?
Yeah, we were at sea. And it was in around, I'm thinking, it's been a while since I was in the Navy, but I'm thinking it was like around the, Well, it was the Atlantic Ocean for one thing, and I'm trying to remember if we were on the way to Gitmo or not. But anyway, it was at nighttime, and we have a radar screen on the bridge up there, and someone reported a contact. We call them contacts, that was coming up on the stern of the ship. That's right behind us, and we were underway. And of course, right away there's an after lookout back there, and they got him on the phones and said, "What do you see aft of the ship?" And he's looking around. There's nothing back there. And on a moonlit night, you can see pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing back here. It's about 200 yards behind the ship. You can't see it. No, can't see anything back there. And it was matching our speed and our turns. So we're the only ship out there in the area. So the deck officer starts saying, "Okay, standard rudder to starboard." So he's making some turns, and this thing was matching our turns. And we'd slow down. It'd slow down. We speed up. It would speed up, and it matched the same speed behind us in the same position. So we went back on the regular heading, and this went on for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden it just took off, and it didn't make a right angle turn. It just a sweeping turn to the right, and just took off across the horizon. Never did see it, but it was on the radar. So they just wrote it down as a radar blip ghost, or whatever you want to call it. That's the way they explained it. And so I don't know what in the hell that was, but
interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. All right. But no, I've never seen anything that, after being in MUFON and seeing everything that's going on in here and what people actually take. I've never seen anything that I could not just readily explain.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting, because I see stuff and I don't have your knowledge, so I can't explain it. And
well, you need to take that field of investigator's exam. What you need to do is no, I'm just kidding.
I actually do need to do that, but life has gotten in the way for the last few years.
Well, that's true. That exam's not really that hard, but it's not really that easy either.
I've heard it's really hard.
Well, we've changed the way we do it. Used to, in the past, everyone took the same test, right? And the answers were a guarded secret. I mean, it was a need to know, and if you didn't need to know, you didn't get to know. So the answers were under wraps. There was only like 2 or 3 people knew what the answers were. So Ken St. John came in, and he's the chief operating officer now. And he and I got together several years ago, and we put the field investigators tests basically on a computer, and you take it online on a computer. In the past, you just filled out the test and sent it in. But we changed it all up to where now it is it's still 100 questions, but it comes from a pool of 400 questions. So the way it's set up now, no one gets the same test. So we don't have to worry about someone gaining the answers and passing them around.
Well, you know what? If you're going to be doing investigations, it's not going to do you a lot of good to have gained that test, because you're going to have the knowledge.
Yes. With a rotating set of questions, you and everything comes out of the manual. Everything. Mm-hmm. There's nothing sidestepped or anything. Everything comes out of that manual. And it's an open book test. I mean, you can take the test with that manual right in front of you. It's not a big deal. So, and we don't have anybody that's actually failing it in like big numbers. There was one that was having trouble, and if you failed the test 3 times, you have to wait 6 months to take it again.
Well, that's not unreasonable.
No.
Gives you time to study.
Exactly. And I think that only happened once.
Well, it's good to know if it was me, there'd be somebody else.
Yes.
It just is intimidating because I don't understand always like the trajectories and things of that. I understand them. I just am not very good with geometry and such. So I would figure it out.
I'm not good with geometry as far as doing the equations and things, but here I am telling you that, but I used to do blueprints all the time, and it's that's kind of funny.
I know that. And I also know what you do for a living. So,
well, right now at the moment, I'm retired.
Well, that's That's fairly new, but you're still certified.
Yes.
For another few years. And
yes.
he is he's a certified OSHA trainer for construction.
Yes, I'm an OSHA outreach trainer. I teach safety classes for people that keep falling off ladders.
Yes. You'd think they'd figure it out after that first time, right?
I know. I myself have busted my rear end off of the last step of a ladder more than anything. Yep. I mean, you just forget what step you're on, and you step off 2 feet up, and hey.
It's an experience.
It certainly is. It's
almost like a ride.
Yeah, it's a quick one.
Well, I'm going to ask this other question because this is, I don't know how you're going to feel about answering this, but you brought it up, so it's fair game.
Okay.
Sherry wants to know, why do you feel that you've been abducted?
Oh.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the story.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm always ready.
Okay, here I was. I was visiting some friends in a city. It's called Justin, Texas. It's like, I don't know, I'm going to guess 30 miles, maybe 35 miles north of Fort Worth. And some friends of mine moved from the block that we all lived on. They moved up there. And so I was visiting them on a weekend. And this is in the summertime. And let's see, you're about to ask me how old I am, I bet you.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, I was like 18. I'm going to go ahead and say I was 18 because it wasn't. I don't think I was 19 then. I might have been 19, but no. I was 18. I'm going to go ahead and stick with 18. And I'm out there visiting, and we're sitting there. Of course, the parents went somewhere, and so I've got the boys, and we're all here having a good time. We're playing cards, and we weren't drinking beer or anything, but we were playing cards, having a good time. And it was getting late, so it's time to go to bed. So I had this one room over here. Now, this is an old house. And it had, it was 2-story, had bedrooms on each side. The house faced north and south. That's the first time I've ever said that. But, the house faced north and south. And the bedroom I was in was on the northwest side of the house. And I was by myself, sleeping. And all of a sudden, I woke up because I heard a big noise because I was sitting there thinking, what woke me up? What was that? Now, I remember there was a loud crash. If I'm going to describe that crash, it would be like a set of dishes or a set of pots and pans fell off the cabinet into the floor. It makes a racket. So I'm waiting for everybody else to get up and go check out what it was, or maybe somebody's in there getting something for eats or something for late snack. I didn't hear anybody. Didn't hear anybody at all. So I'm laying there trying to go back to sleep, and I hear the floor creaking, like someone is sneaking across the floor.
Oh,
and it's,
in
and
your
it's going,
room?
No, down the wall. The living room and dining room is all one long wall, one long room. You come in the front door, and you can actually go out the back door with a screened-in porch. And the bedrooms are on each side of that, including the kitchen. So I hear someone sneaking down that wall, floor popping, creaking, popping. I said, they're coming there, they're going to try to scare me. That's what they're, so I'm waiting on them. Right. I'm laying in the bed, acting like I'm asleep. And so they get to the door, and they stop. And I hear that doorknob creaking as it's going open and creaking. And then all of a sudden, the room filled up with cold air. I mean, this isn't summertime in Texas. It's not cold. The room filled up with cold air like you open a refrigerator door or a freezer. Well, I had been reading enough in Enquire and all that stuff. When that happens, there's a ghost coming in your room.
Right.
So I didn't want to see what was coming in the room. I slammed my eyeballs shut because I knew the ghost was in the room. And so I'm waiting for it to take care of what it's going to do and then leave. And I started feeling this thumping noise in my ears. Thump, 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 thump. And I put my hand on my chest, and it's my heart. I am petrified, scared to death about what
Bless
this
your
is.
Heart.
And my heart's going bump, bump, bump. I said, oh, calm down. The next thing I know is the next morning I wake up. I'm looking around. I bail out of the bed, Everybody's up having breakfast. And I walk in the room and said, about time you got up, sleepy bones, you lazy guy, and all that kind of thing. I started saying, I started looking around. Did y'all see a mess in here this morning? No. Anybody hear anything last night? No. So I didn't say anything about it.
Right.
And then about a year later, that's why I put about a year, is that sometime later I joined the Navy. And that was in the summer of my 19th birthday, which is 1969. I joined the Navy. Went through boot camp and all that kind of garbage. And here we are on our first or second voyage. And we were going down to Gitmo, and that's Cuba. Mm-hmm. And we were stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. So just straight shot south, you're in Cuba. So I'm on this is, I'm telling you this before I can tell you that. But I'm out here on the fantail of the boat. We're watching go by, and I'm sitting there talking to the second class bosun mate there, and I'm saying, man, I can't wait to get through here. It says, I never have been in the Bermuda Triangle. I've heard about it, but I've never been in it. I said, I can't wait till we get there. He says, well, you're in it right now. Oh, man, that scared the crap out of me. I'm sitting looking around. I said, oh, no. And, of course, I've been through the Bermuda Triangle now about 7 or 8 times. Nothing ever happened. But anyway, here we are. It's night, and all the guys are on the fantail of the boat, and they're telling stories and lies, smoking cigarettes, all that kind of thing. And they started telling ghost stories. So I said, hey, I got one for you. And I started telling them this. And when I got to the part, I'm getting cold chills now. When I got to the part where I woke up the next morning, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, scratching my head, how in the world did I go to sleep with adrenaline pumping out of my ears?
Yeah.
I have never figured that one out, and I don't want to know. I'm like Travis Walton. I asked him about why he doesn't go have regression. He says, because I think I was killed by that light.
Yeah.
And they brought me back in and revived me. And if I have a regression, I might die. I said, that's a good point.
That is a good point.
I do not want to know what happened in that room. So, hey, there we go.
There you go.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I don't know if I would want to know. It's really interesting because that's very similar, except that with Whitley Strieber, he was actually asleep when he was being removed from his room.
Yes.
So you were awake and they put you under.
Well, I don't know.
It's kind of backwards.
Yeah, I just don't understand going to sleep. Someone said, well, you passed out. And I said, well, a lot of times when people pass out, they have a headache later. I said, I didn't have a headache.
Especially from that. If it's an adrenaline overload and you pass out, then, yeah, you would have some sort of physical manifestation.
Anyway, whatever happened, I don't care.
That's interesting. I don't think I would want to be regressed. I had somebody ask me that once, and I just was like, I think I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that most people that are abducted are Rh negative blood?
I have heard that most people who are considered to be hybrid are. I didn't know that people who were abducted were.
Oh, yeah. I asked Kathleen about that. And she says, no. She said there's no definite blood type that's being abducted more than any other. I said, okay, good. I feel better now because I'm B negative.
Well, I'm plain old O positive. But, that surprises me because I do feel like I've heard enough about the Rh negative connection to hybrid humans.
I've heard that too.
And I was actually walking through an area with Linda Moulton Howe one afternoon, and this young woman was there. Linda just stopped and bent over. The young woman was in a wheelchair, and Linda was like, I'm so sorry. You are the most beautiful hybrid child I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, what? And when I looked at this young woman, the eyes and the cheekbones and the cheek and jawline was so definitively shaped like a gray.
Mm-hmm.
And her eyes were a very bizarre emerald. And I had never in my entire life expected to meet someone that I would even consider to be a hybrid human. And I am thoroughly convinced that this young woman was. And Linda looked at the mom who was with her, wheeling her chair, and said, "She is, right?" And the mom said, "Yeah." And, I mean, she wasn't trying to get attention or continue the conversation or anything. And I'm just sitting there going, holy wow, this is so cool. So now we have another question for you.
Okay.
What is your opinion on Area 51? Do you think they actually have an alien craft, or do you feel that maybe they even had alien corpses?
Yes. Yes, and they're not there any longer.
They weren't there for long at all, though, were they?
Yes, in S4. But since Area 51 has gained so much notoriety, they moved everything.
Well, I will tell you that with this whole Storm Area 51 thing, we were talking about it in Phoenix, and Kathleen Martin did an excellent Nibiru run. So I didn't even know what that was. There's no way in the world
I'd be out there doing that.
Oh my gosh, I have no interest in being a statistic. So no, me either.
No. I think it's fun, maybe a Woodstock or something, but as far as storming that gate or any part of that place, no.
They had killed someone in January, right?
I didn't hear about that.
Yes, somebody was coming in like a couple of months before that in January, and they would not stop. And
well, they asking for it.
So they were shot. They were killed. And Tom Cromwell says, there's scorpions out there. He's not going either.
Yeah.
And they're big scorpions, and when it's hot enough, there's tarantulas.
Of course.
I'm not
Rattlesnakes, too. I'm not going out there, period.
Nope. And, there's a reason that these bases are in such anti-human areas.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. So.
Yes.
And, if they want to keep me out that badly, I'm going to respect that. I don't have to be the person that... Yeah. Now, if they want to talk to me about it, I'm going to listen. But I'm not going to go out and try to be, an idiot or a hero. Sometimes they look an awful lot alike. But we're going to go... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say we're going to go for our final break. So... if you're out there and you've been holding on to questions and you just didn't think you wanted to, put yourself out there, put yourself out there. We've got answers. So come on back. This is going to be, as I said, our last break. And it's your last chance for questions. So ask away. We'll see you on the flip side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Welcome back. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. And we are so appreciative of you being here because this show has been amazing. My guest is Steve Hudgeons, who is the Director of Investigations International for MUFON. And, you know, he's also the Director of Support Services and over STAR Team, which is their rapid response unit. And we have been having such a good conversation. But I am really amazed that with all of the years and all of the experiences and experiencers, all of the people that I have talked to in the military who have had experiences, you know, there was a reason I asked you if you were in the Indian Ocean when you had an experience when we were talking earlier. Because almost everyone that I know who has been in the Navy has had experiences when they were in the Indian Ocean. I don't know why. I don't know what that correlation would be.
Drones.
In the Indian Ocean in the 70s?
That's possible. I wouldn't think so, not in the 70s.
That's interesting. So, when did drones start making their appearance?
It was like in 85 or something like that. I could be wrong on that date, but it wasn't. I don't believe anything was in the 70s.
Okay. Because I've heard one person who, as a ship, I can't remember the name of their ship, but they were stationed over there. They were cruising through, and they had a USO.
Underwater.
Yes. And I know that I have talked to other people who have, one person actually said that he was taking a ship that he had made for a bunch of kids out of popsicle sticks, and he does things like that. He's so cool. But he's got so many Guinness Books of World Records, and they got lifted up by a USO, and there was another ship across from them who saw this happen, and their ship was, their popsicle stick ship was damaged, so they had to put back into the dock, and there were people there who confiscated all kinds of, well, all of the media, because it was a fundraiser. It was for sick children. The children that were able to were on the ship, so there was media there, and the media stuff was confiscated. The parents' cameras were confiscated. It was a big to-do, and then nobody ever talked about it again. And I thought, how weird. So there's all kinds of reports about USOs that are over in Europe and different places. But do you have anyone that worked with you that experienced something like that?
Not with USOs, no.
I mean, where like a USO actually struck a ship?
No.
Because they seem to dodge pretty well.
That's what I would think, too.
Maybe because this was wood-based? They weren't aware of it? I mean...
Well, depending on how much water the thing would draft, but those boats don't go down in the water that much.
Yeah. Well, it's where the USO was actually coming out. When it appeared to be coming out when it, because it kind of took the ship up with it, is what the people on the other ship said.
Maybe because it was made of wood, it didn't detect it.
That's what I was thinking as a possibility. Just a weird thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that you hear or anticipate hearing very much. Yeah.
No, but I've never been in the Indian Ocean.
I think that I would like to be there. So, when you were out at sea like that, did you like have dolphin encounters and stuff with
Dolphins?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when you get inboard to the coastline sometimes, but not that often. We were bumped by a whale once.
Ooh.
That was an experience.
I would imagine. I've seen whales in the past. They're actually pretty massive.
I tell you one thing I saw. We were down in the Caribbean, and the water was like a sheet of glass. I mean, you could see deep, and it's just calm. And we were underway, and I was up on what's called the forecastle of the ship. It's right on the very front, the very point, and I was looking over the edge. I was watching the boat cut through the water, and I was just sitting there watching, and all of a sudden, up in front of us, you know what a jellyfish is?
Up close and personal, yes.
Okay, you know the man of war, and then the females have the long red tentacles, and
yes,
they're the ones with the poison. Okay, I saw one in front of us, and the outer umbrella head shell of the thing was 30 feet across.
Holy wow!
And the tentacles went down out of sight, and we ran right over it.
Well, thank God you didn't fall off.
Yes.
Oh my God, that would have killed you.
Yes, that thing was bigger than the gun mount. I was shocked, and of course, there's nobody around. I couldn't say, "Look at that." Yeah. Anyway, I saw it. It was huge.
Wow.
Sure got my attention.
Well, because I'm on the Gulf Coast a lot, and the man-o-wars like cooler water. So this is about the time of year that they're, washing up. And new snowbirds to our area don't know. They just think they know they're jellies. They think they're pretty. And they are pretty. It's deceptive.
Yes, they're pretty all right.
But you cannot fix a man-o-war sting. There's nothing that will fix that except time and painkillers. They will actually take people to the hospital to get, by ambulance if they're stung badly enough by those, to get them immediate pain relief. So that's what made me a respecter of those. I'm careful anyway, but definitely I look for blue when I'm out walking, and I will not walk the beach at this time of year in the dark.
Right, they'll wash up on you.
Yeah. If I can't see them, I'm not walking in the water.
Good idea.
I learned with a regular jelly. So a man-o-war is just bad to the bone. Well, this being said, we've only got a few minutes, and I want to address something. And you told me I could ask you anything. Right?
Yeah.
So I know that with the current information being released, the videos being released, the notoriety that is being struck, relevant to, is the government actually acknowledging UFOs? I told you that when I was at an event, I actually went there expecting there to be, tension, altercations, people seeming to have issues between the different organizations. And I was relieved not to see that, because the work that's being done, y'all have such, MUFON truly has been the only game in town. Nobody else really was doing the research. Nobody seemed to care. And then another organization started that gained notoriety because of the spokesperson. And there are other people who are principals in that, or were principals in that, who have notoriety for locations that they've owned and things of that nature. Do you feel like the videos of these Tic Tac aircraft are UFOs? Do you think that these are actually American craft? The capabilities seemed overwhelming. And do you feel like there's going to be a place in this research for both of these organizations and any others that come from that to work together, or at least not get in each other's way as they're continuing the path?
That's a good question. I know a lot of people have basically, I'll say nicely, bowed out of MUFON and started their own organizations. Mm-hmm. But they don't have field investigators, and even if they do, they don't investigate anything. Now they'll take a report, but they don't do anything with it. Maybe write a white paper or whatever. And what's that? It's nothing, as far as I'm concerned. But I've been in MUFON so long, I've seen this happen many times, and they eventually basically evaporate because they try to be MUFON, but they can't be MUFON because they just don't have it. As far as the Tic Tac videos, the ones that I've seen look like a video game to me, and the two jet jockeys that were talking in it sound like a couple of teenage kids playing a game. So I didn't see much. I don't care what the Navy said about it. The government, they're going to say anything and anything. It doesn't make any difference. If they want to call it, well, yeah, it's a UFO, all that is unidentified flying object. That doesn't say what it is, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's something from outer space. So, okay, it's a UFO. Okay, what did we learn? Nothing. And this other group that's coming out, I'm still anxious to see what they're going to do. And
I'm
so
interested
far,
in that too. I've spoken with some of the people. I know some of the principals.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good group of people as far as their professional experiences go. I've been following one of the physicists for some time now, and I'm really impressed with his work. But that's not relevant to ufology. It is quantum science.
Yeah.
Which does have a place, I feel like, in ufology.
Sure, it does.
Dimensionally speaking. And so I know that I waited almost too late to get this question. I really weighed whether I was going to ask it or not. But something else that I'm concerned with, and you can tell me if this is a real thing, is the fact that they are changing the nomenclature to UAPs.
Yes, I can tell you why. What I think.
Well,
it's what. Go ahead if you want to finish something.
Well, what I was thinking is that if they start doing that, then that's going to pull away. If you start doing a FOIA request like 5-10 years from now, and you're looking under UAPs, well, the nomenclature for UFOs has been dropped, so you're not going to be pulling all the information that you want. I think it's for confusion.
It may be. That's a good answer.
What is yours?
I'm of the. I do my best to try to separate UFOs from paranormal because of the giggle factor. That's what I call it. And a lot of people don't want to deal with UFOs simply because it's paranormal, that kind of thing. So I kind of feel like that may be why they're changing it to UAP. Is a different designation. It means the same thing, but it's not saying the same thing. And
I agree with that.
It may put a more of a scientific appeal to it, to where better scientists will start looking at it, because they're not going to look at it now because it's a giggle factor, and nobody's going to give you a grant, especially from the government, if you're going to study UFOs. If you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, because they're already pulling in contracts.
Yeah.
And
so I think it's just a change in name for scientific reasons.
Okay. Well, I've just been curious about that, and I really I was so relieved when there was not animosity, because I really expected fairly full-blown animosity, and I've really only seen that stem from one individual.
Mm-hmm.
So, but because of who that individual was, I expected to see more of it, and there really didn't seem to be any. So, I mean, anyone else doing that. So that was a relief. I'm glad. I want this study to continue to go forward. I may take that test just to, satisfy my curiosity on if I could pass it. And goodness knows Alabama needs field investigators.
Yes, they do. People are always talking about disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen until a voting block is built to force them. I keep telling everybody, join MUFON. Once we become 3 or 4 million members, people will start listening.
Yep. Let's do it.
I'm waiting.
MUFON.com.
That's right? That's it.
MUFON.com. You can sign up for the opportunity to be a card-carrying member. You can sign up to take the field investigators test, get your manual first.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, because you're not going to pass that test without that manual.
No way.
And there's a lot of cool groups that are part of the research into ufology. MUFON is the original.
Yep.
And all of the other people doing this stem from them. So it's okay. You can join all of them. That's not a bad thing. Join them and enjoy it. So that's a good way to go. So Steve, I appreciate so much you being here. I have enjoyed every minute of this, and we need to not wait so long.
Okay.
Your field is changing. Your field is changing too fast.
I suppose
Quarterly works for me.
Okay.
I'm good with that. So, I appreciate you. And
I'm glad to be here.
People can find you at the MUFON website, right?
Yes, I'm in there.
So
I couldn't exactly tell you exactly where, but I'm in there somewhere.
You'll find him. He's fantastic. He's a great person to talk to, as y'all heard tonight. And he's a font of information. But if you have a question, be ready for your answer, because he is not one to sugarcoat.
Nope.
I love that.
I'm straight to the point.
That's the best way to be. And for everyone listening, you know what? If you don't like the world today, go out and change it. Manifest that stuff. Be the person that you want to be. Be the friends you'd like to have. You can do that. We will see you next week. We've got shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we'll be back Sunday with Nancy Tremaine. Good night. Thank you for being here.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.